All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into something pretty cool.
Cool. I'd say mind-blowing.
Okay, you might be right about that, especially for folks who love seeing cutting-edge AI. We're talking about AI video generation, and this model we're looking at,
LTX video.
right, LTX video. It's generating a lot of buzz because it's not just creating impressive videos, it's doing it incredibly fast.
And with crazy high quality. That's what really sets it apart.
Absolutely. We've got the academic paper right here, hot off the press, and we're going to unpack exactly how this thing works and why it might just change the way we make videos forever.
Buckle up.
Okay, so maybe let's start with the big picture here. Can you give us a sense of what the current landscape of AI video generation looks like?
Sure. I mean, we've seen some pretty amazing AI models that can take text prompts and turn them into videos.
Hmm.
Like think Sora, Movie Gen, Cog Video X.
Right, those are some of the big names.
Exactly. They're doing some impressive things. But there's a catch.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's always a but, isn't there?
There is. Most of these models are super slow and need a ton of computing power. Think like those giant supercomputers you see in movies.
Not exactly something you can run on your laptop then.
Not unless you've got a few years to spare waiting for the video to render.
So where does LTX video fit into all this?
Well, think of it this way. Those other models, they're like gas-guzzling trucks. Impressive, powerful, but not very efficient. LTX video. They're aiming to be the sleek sports car. Speed, ND quality.
Okay, I like that analogy. So how do they manage to pull off that magic trick? What's LTX Video's secret sauce?
It's a combination of clever engineering and some really innovative approaches.
Like what? Spill the beans?
Well, one of the key things they do is combine two parts that are usually kept separate in these models. The video VAE and the denoising transformer.
The video what now?
Video VAE. It stands for Variational Autoencoder. It's basically a way to compress the video information into a much smaller representation. Think of it like trying to fit a whole movie into a tiny suitcase.
Okay, so it's like creating a super efficient zip file for a movie, making it much easier to work with.
Exactly.
Right.
Then, the denoising transformer steps in and works on that smaller, compressed representation. They call this whole approach holistic latent diffusion.
Holistic latent diffusion. It sounds kind of catchy, even if I don't fully get it yet.
Think of it this way. It's like instead of handling the video in these separate stages, they're combining these two crucial steps, the compression and the refinement, into one streamlined process.
I see. So less back and forth, more efficiency. And that all ties into making the model faster, right? Less data to crunch equals faster results.
Precisely. But they don't stop there.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. They've also managed to achieve a crazy compression ratio of 192 to 1.
Whoa, hold on. 192 to 1. That's like squeezing a whole movie into a file that's 192 times smaller. Isn't that going to totally wreck the quality?
That's the amazing part. They've come up with some really clever techniques to make sure the quality doesn't suffer, even with all that compression.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What kind of techniques are we talking about?
One key innovation is what they call relocating patchifying.
Relocating patchifying. That sounds technical.
It is. Basically, instead of breaking the video into smaller chunks before processing, they do this patchifying during the compression stage.
Okay, so they're changing the order of operations. Why do that? What's the benefit?
Think of it like prepping all your ingredients before you start cooking. It speeds up the whole process without sacrificing the quality of the meal.
So it's all about making the denoising transformer's job easier, smart.
Right. And they've also got this neat trick called the denoising decoder.
Another technical term? Hit me with it.
So usually a decoder just takes the compressed video and turns it back into pixels, right? But with LTX video, the decoder also does this final smoothing out of any imperfections.
Two birds, one stone.
Exactly. And they've got a bunch of other cool innovations too, like this reconstruction GAN thing.
GN, as in Generative Adversarial Network. I've heard those can be pretty powerful.
They are. But the key takeaway here is that LTX video manages to be incredibly efficient and produce top-notch results at the same time.
So it's not a case of picking speed or R quality. They've somehow managed to get both.
Yep. And that's just with text to video.
Wait, there's more?
There's always more. LTX video can also do image to video. You give it a single image, and it can animate it.
Whoa, hold on. So I could take a still photo, and this thing can turn it into a video.
Exactly. And you could even guide the animation with text prompts. So you could take a picture of, say, your dog.
Okay, picture my dog.
And tell LTX video, Make my dog run through a field, and boom, you've got a video of your dog running through a field.
No way. That's like having a magic wand for your photos.
Pretty much. They've got this very clever mechanism that uses the text prompt as a guide to bring the image to life.
This is blowing my mind. Speed, quality, and versatility. LTX video is shaping up to be a real game changer.
I think it's safe to say we're just scratching the surface here.
Okay, so we've seen the hype, but how does it actually stack up against the competition? I mean, bragging is one thing, but we need to see the proof in the pudding.
That's a good point. They actually did a human evaluation study comparing LTX video to OpenSourcePlan, CogVideoX, and Pyramid Flow. You know, those big names we were talking about earlier.
Right, the ones with the supercomputers.
Yeah, and the results are pretty impressive.
Let's hear it. Did LTX video actually deliver on those promises of speed and quality?
They did. Across the board, LTX video outperformed the other models in both text-to-video and image-to-video tasks.
So faster A&D better? Color me impressed.
And this is all while being significantly faster, mind you.
That's pretty remarkable. You know, a lot of these papers just throw claims around, but it sounds like they actually did some rigorous testing.
Oh, absolutely. They did what are called ablation studies, where they systematically tested different parts of the model.
Ablation studies.
Yeah, they basically took the model apart, piece by piece, to see how each component contributes to the overall performance.
So it's not just like, hey, look at all these fancy features we added. They actually made sure each piece was doing its job.
Exactly. And two of their findings were particularly interesting.
I'm all ears.
First, they found that their reconstruction GAN approach was much better at generating high-quality videos than traditional methods.
Right, because it's one thing to squeeze all that information down, but you need to be able to unpack it without losing detail.
Exactly. And their method did a much better job of that.
Makes sense. What was the other big takeaway?
They also found that they could improve the model's performance by using what are called rotary positional embeddings in a very specific way.
Rotary positional embeddings.
It's a mouthful, I know. But basically, it helps the model understand how different parts of the video relate to each other over time. Like it gives the AI a better sense of timing and flow.
Got it. So it's not just about making the video look good, it's about making it feel natural and coherent.
Exactly.
This is already sounding super impressive, but I'm guessing even with all this amazing tech, there are some limitations.
Of course, every technology has its limits.
What are some of the things they highlighted?
One thing they mentioned was that the model can be a bit sensitive to the text prompts. If the instructions are vague or poorly worded, the results might not be as good.
Right, so it's like giving someone a bad recipe. You're not going to get a tasty meal.
Exactly. Garbage in, garbage out.
What else?
Well, for now, LTX video is mainly focused on generating shorter videos, up to around 10 seconds or so.
So no feature-length films just yet?
Not quite. Scaling up to longer content while maintaining quality is still a challenge.
Okay, that makes sense. Any other limitations they brought up?
One thing they're still exploring is how well LTX video can be adapted to more specialized tasks, like creating multi-view videos or making very specific edits.
So for now, it's more of a generalist, a very, very talented generalist.
Exactly.
This has been fascinating. We've gone from the nuts and bolts of how this thing works to some pretty mind-blowing possibilities for the future. I'm really excited to see where this technology goes from here.
Me too.
Yeah.
It feels like we're on the cusp of something truly revolutionary.
But it's not all sunshine and roses, right? This technology has the potential to be misused as well.
Oh, absolutely. There are some serious ethical considerations we need to talk about. The potential for deep fakes, misinformation, all sorts of tricky stuff.
Right. We're going to need to tread carefully here.
We will.
Well, this is just the beginning of our deep dive into LTX video. We've only just scratched the surface. We still need to talk about the potential impact of this technology, both the good and the bad.
That's right. This is where things get really interesting.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore those ethical considerations and the potential societal impact of this game-changing technology. See you there.
Can't wait.
Okay, we're back and ready to dive deeper into LTX video. We've seen how this model's pushing the boundaries of video generation. I mean, the speed and quality are incredible. But now, let's zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture. What happens when creating realistic videos becomes this easy? What does it mean for the world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We're talking about a technology that's incredibly powerful.
Powerful enough to be misused, right?
Exactly. Like any powerful tool, it has the potential for good and, well, not so good.
So are the researchers thinking about that? Are they addressing these concerns?
They are. They actually dedicated a whole section of the paper to social impact.
Okay, good. They're not just ignoring the potential downsides. So what are some of the key points they bring up?
Well, one thing they emphasize is accessibility. LTX video was designed to be really efficient, which means it doesn't need those massive supercomputers that a lot of other AI models require.
So you're saying regular people with regular computers could potentially use this technology.
That's the idea. And to make it even more accessible, they've made LTX video open source. Anyone can access the code, tinker with it, even build on it.
Wow, that's pretty huge. It really levels the playing field, doesn't it?
It does, and that's what they're hoping for, to democratize video creation.
I like that. Democratizing video creation. So what does that look like in practice? Who benefits from this?
Think about independent filmmakers, educators, small businesses.
Right. People who couldn't normally afford to create high-quality video content.
Exactly. They could suddenly have the tools to tell their stories, share their knowledge, engage with their audiences in whole new ways.
It's pretty exciting to think about. What about the entertainment industry? Could we see an explosion of user-generated content, people making their own movies, music videos, even interactive stories?
It's definitely a possibility. When anyone can create professional-looking videos, it could really shake things up. It's exciting, but also a little daunting, don't you think?
It is daunting because, as you said earlier, we can't just focus on the good stuff. We have to think about the potential for misuse, too.
Right, the dark side.
Exactly. If anyone can create realistic-looking videos, what's stopping them from creating fake news, misleading content, propaganda? The potential for harm is pretty significant.
It is. And that's a conversation we need to have as a society, right? It's not just about the technology itself, but about how we use it.
So how do we do that? How do we encourage responsible use without stifling innovation and creativity?
It's a tough balance. It's like handing someone a really powerful tool and saying, be careful with this.
Right. But is that enough?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think we need to think about broader solutions, maybe even new regulations or standards.
It's almost like we need to become more media literate, right? Be more skeptical of what we see online, especially when it comes to videos.
Absolutely. We need to develop new skills to spot fakes and be more discerning consumers of media.
Okay, so we've talked about the social and ethical implications, but what about the environmental impact? Creating all these videos must take a lot of energy, which means more carbon emissions.
That's a really important point. And it's something we need to be mindful of with any new technology, especially AI. The good news is that LTX video, being so efficient, actually uses less energy than some of those other big AI models.
So it's a bit more eco-friendly, at least compared to those resource-hungry supercomputer models.
It is. But it still highlights a broader issue about the environmental cost of AI.
Right. It's all connected. We can't just get excited about shiny new features without thinking about the consequences, whether they're social, ethical, or environmental.
Exactly. And that brings us to another interesting aspect of the LTX video paper.
I'm intrigued. What is it?
Well, the researchers actually offer some thoughts about where this technology is headed.
Okay, time to peek into the future. What are their predictions? What do they see happening in the next few years?
They're really excited about the potential for longer form content. Like we were saying, right now LTX video is mostly geared towards shorter videos, but they think that's a temporary limitation.
Right. They're already achieving faster than real-time generation for those 5-second clips. So if they can scale that up.
Exactly. Imagine being able to create longer movies, TV shows, even personalized content tailored to each viewer.
Hold on. Personalized content, like my own personal TV channel.
It's not as far-fetched as it sounds. Think about personalized educational content, interactive stories that adapt to your choices, even therapeutic experiences designed just for you.
Okay, we've gone from making funny cat videos to revolutionizing entertainment, education, and healthcare.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And it highlights the fact that we need to think carefully about this technology and its potential impact.
Absolutely. There are ethical considerations, safeguards we need to put in place.
Right. How do we ensure that this powerful tool is used for good and not for harm?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. But one thing's for sure, LTX video is a sign that the future of video is going to be very different from the past.
No doubt about it. We're on the verge of a major transformation.
And it's up to all of us to navigate it thoughtfully and responsibly.
Couldn't agree more. So, to our listener, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we invite you to pause and reflect.
What excites you about this technology? What worries you? What questions are you wrestling with?
Keep those thoughts in mind as we head into the final part of our LTX video exploration.
We'll be diving into the researchers' own predictions for the future of video generation, their hopes, and their concerns. Don't miss it. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into LTX video. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it?
It really has. We've gone from the technical nitty-gritty to some pretty profound ethical questions.
We have, but now I'm curious, what do the people behind LTX video, the ones who actually created this thing, think about the future of video generation? What are their predictions?
Well, they're not just brilliant engineers, they're also kind of like futurists.
Okay, so they're thinking big picture.
Exactly. And in their paper, they actually lay out some pretty fascinating thoughts about where this technology is heading.
All right, I'm all ears. Give me a glimpse into the future of video.
Well, one area they're particularly excited about is longer form content.
Ah, yes, we talked about that earlier. Right now, LTX video is great for those short clips, but
But they don't see that as a permanent limitation.
so they think they can scale it up, make longer videos.
Exactly. They're already generating those 5-second clips faster than real time. Now, imagine scaling that up to minutes, hours.
Whoa, hold on. Are we talking full-blown movies here, made entirely by AI?
It's not out of the realm of possibility. Think about it. Personalized educational content. Interactive stories that change based on your choices.
Okay, now that's just cool, like a choose-your-own-adventure movie.
Exactly. They even talk about therapeutic experiences tailored to your specific needs.
Wow. So we've gone from funny cat videos to revolutionizing Hollywood any therapy.
It's a pretty amazing thought, right? This technology could change so much more than just how we make videos.
It could change everything, but amidst all this excitement, it's easy to forget that there's also a potential dark side here.
Right, we can't just focus on the cool stuff and ignore the risks.
Exactly, and the researchers, they're aware of that, right?
Oh, absolutely. They actually
Yeah.
talk about that quite a bit in their paper. They call it social impact.
Okay, good. So they're not just burying their heads in the sand. What kind of things do they highlight?
Well, they acknowledge the potential for LTX video to be used for malicious purposes.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Deepfakes, for one. Creating videos there are so realistic, they could be used to spread misinformation or damage someone's reputation.
Right, and those are already a problem, even without AI as advanced as this.
Exactly. This technology could make it even easier to create convincing fakes.
And then there's the whole issue of propaganda, right? Governments or organizations could use this to spread their message in a way that's almost impossible to distinguish from reality.
It's a scary thought, isn't it? It's like blurring the lines between truth and fiction to the point where we can't tell the difference anymore.
So what do we do about it? How do we prevent these potential harms without stifling innovation?
That's the million-dollar question. I think it's going to require a multifaceted approach.
Like what? Give me some ideas.
Well, for starters, we need to educate people about the potential dangers of this technology. Make them aware that not everything they see online is real.
Right. Media literacy is going to be more important than ever.
Exactly. And we also need to think about things like regulations, ethical guidelines for developers, maybe even ways to detect and flag fake videos.
It's a tough challenge, but it's one we need to face head on.
We do. The stakes are pretty high.
They are. But in a way, this whole conversation about LTX video has been kind of a wake-up call.
A wake-up call.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we can't just blindly embrace new technologies without thinking about the consequences. We need to be proactive, not reactive.
I totally agree. We need to ask ourselves some hard questions. What kind of future do we want? How do we use these powerful tools for good? How do we prevent them from being used for harm?
Those are big questions, and I don't think there are any easy answers.
There aren't. But the first step is starting the conversation, acknowledging the challenges and working together to find solutions.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
It has been quite a journey.
It has. We've covered a lot of ground. We've explored the technical brilliance of LTX video. We've talked about the exciting possibilities, and we've grappled with the potential risks.
And hopefully we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
I hope so, too. Because ultimately, the future of video generation, the future of AI, it's not just up to the researchers and developers. It's up to all of us.
It is. It's a collective responsibility.
So as we sign off, we leave you with this one final thought. If we can already create realistic videos faster than real time, what happens when those videos become indistinguishable from actual footage? What happens when seeing is believing no longer holds true? That's the future we're facing. A future filled with both incredible potential and profound challenges. and it's a future we need to navigate carefully, thoughtfully, and together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.